Do you know that some of the people that were arrested during Occupy LA are still in jail? Now, that happened last Tuesday. It's been nearly a week. There was 291 arrests, and 9 or 10 people are still in jail. Over the weekend, the number was at 40, which is incredibly high. Why? Because the bail was set at $5,000 to $27,000. One guy has bail set at, and the guy who's got the bail set at $27,000 was a legal observer for the National Lawyers Guild. What the hell is going on here? Do you know, at most they're being charged with a misdemeanor. Do you know what the normal fine, or I should say bail, if any, there is for a misdemeanor? $100. Normally it's $100. In this case, it's $5,000 to $27,000. And one of the cops was like, well, that'll show them that there's consequences to getting arrested. So there's consequences to doing freedom of speech in this country. Meanwhile, the same LA judicial system let Lindsay Lohan out of jail in literally 84 minutes. The first time she was put in jail. Not even an hour and a half, and she was out. But if you're somebody who's actually trying to say something important about this country and about our government, we're going to show you the consequences. We're going to set bail at a price you can't pay. There are reports out that some of the protesters were basically stuck in a bus for 7 hours. Sure, of course, they weren't given food, water, etc., but they weren't allowed to go to the bathroom. So people started going to the bathroom on the bus. It's sick, man. And there were cops nearby, and they didn't do anything about it. Ha ha, we'll show them the consequences to actually exercising your freedom of speech rights in Los Angeles. And this is the LA Police Department that's been bragging about how nonviolent this was and how much the mayor empathizes with the Occupy movement. But what could he do? He had to arrest them all, set really high bail, not let them go to the bathroom. Some of them were injured and did not get medical treatment. There was a guy who got shot by a beanbag and was bleeding from his arm, had this huge welt on it, didn't get medical treatment for 5 hours, and the stories go on and on. And like I said, there are 9 to 10 people that are still in jail, nearly a week after. Why? Why? If you were sympathetic at all to this movement, that's not what you would do. You wouldn't treat them a million times harder than you treat Lindsay Lohan. It's because you're not sympathetic to the movement, because the government can't stand any criticism. Whether they're Democrats or they're Republicans, they're just pro-establishment. And they hate the Occupy movement because the Occupy movement is accurately pointing out all the problems with this government. Mayor Villaraigosa, it's totally, utterly disappointing. And, you know, and earlier we had talked about how, you know, he was making an effort to at least reach out to these guys and to have a conversation and not to do a raid, you know, in the beginning. Turns out, no, he was just following the same playbook as all these mayors. He first pretended to do outreach and then pretended to do not a raid, but when the cops would come, and then they said, oh, look at this, everybody's protesting, we can't do it now. And then later, in the middle of the night, they do the actual raid a couple of days later, just as we predicted on the show. They treat everybody just as bad as any other cops treated them. And so the establishment, the one thing they cannot stand above all is being challenged. That's what's happened.